Welcome crafters, Michelle here. I have a fantastic video for you today. In today's crafting adventure, I'm going to be sharing with you several videos on how to make fall wreaths and craft DIYs. Let's go ahead and get started. To get started on our project, you're going to need one of these beautiful Scarecrow garden stakes. I picked this up in their fall section. Now they have two to choose from. They have the little boy here, and then they also have a female. Today we're going to focus on our little boy here, and they're really easy to get off. Just push it down. You want to hold nice and still, grab the stake, kind of go back and forth a little bit, and then it'll pull right out and you won't have any damage to your sign. Now to get these attached to my wreath form, I like to use these. They are called mounting pads or cable mounts. I've seen them also called that. You can pick this up in pretty much any hardware. In this package you get 10 count. It will hold up to 40 pounds and they are 1 inch by 1 inch. Now when you take them out of the package, this is what they look like. They have the little holes here on the side. This is where you can put your cable tie or your pipe cleaner in, and you can go either this direction or this direction. Now if you turn them over, they have a little peel off here that has a sticky pad. You want to remove that. Once you remove it, this is what it looks like. And then to attach it to the back of your metal sign, you want to use a combination of either Fix-All adhesive or E6000. You need a good industrial strength adhesive and hot glue. The hot glue is going to allow you to attach it right away. It's going to hold it on there until the Fix-All or the E6000 fully sets up, and that can take 1 to 2 days. Once that happens, then this will be weather resistant and you won't have to worry about this coming off and your sign falling off. And on the back here, I'm going to do two. I'm going to place one up near the top here and then one down here near the bottom. I want to make sure that my sign is going to sit exactly where I place it. So while the mount on the sign set up, we're going to get started here on our base. You're going to need a 14-inch wire wreath form that you can pick up from Dollar Tree, some pipe cleaners cut in half, and some Dollar Tree Deco mesh. You will need 3 rolls in the orange, 3 in the brown, and 3 in this gold color. These all come out of their fall section, which they should have in stores now. So you'll need a total of 9 rolls of Deco mesh. I have 1 roll of each color of my Deco mesh unwrapped. And to get this started, you want to scrunch the ends of each of the rolls, and I always like to put them side by side. You really don't want to stack them on top of each other. That'll just make it harder later on when you go in to separate your poofs. Take a pipe cleaner and attach onto the ends. Twist a couple times. You need that to be really snug. You don't want it to pull out while you're working on it. We're going to attach everything to the 2 bars here in the middle, but I'm going to start here on the crossbar. Feed it from the front to the back. Pull your pipe cleaners nice and snug and give a twist. And then I always like to push my ends to the back. I pull it back through the pipe cleaners and give another twist. And then I push those sharp ends forward. Now if you have a lot here left on your deco mesh, you can trim it, but you want to leave about 1 inch. You don't want it to pull through while you're working on it. So today for our base, we're going to be doing the poof or bubble method. I've seen it called both. And I put multiple rolls together. Usually you see it with 10-inch or 21-inch mesh, and they use 1 roll at a time. For using Dollar Tree mesh, my solution was to use multiple rolls. Now you can use 2 or 3 rolls at a time. And what's great is each time you do a measurement and a poof, you're actually making 2 or 3 poofs at a time. It gives you a beautiful, thick, full base. And as you can see, you can mix up the colors. So there's a lot of different things you can do with this method. And today we're going to be measuring our poofs at about 8 inches. You want to start to measure here where you attached it. Pull all 3 out, measure at 8 inches, pinch. Then add a pipe cleaner. Then take that and attach it to the 2 bars in the middle. So feed from the front to the back around the 2 bars. Pull your pipe cleaners together, give a twist or 2. And then I always like to pull my ends together, and then I push them back forward. This keeps the back of my wreath looking nice and clean. All those sharp edges are away from the back, and you won't be able to see them from the front. So that's my first poof. And then you just continue to do that. You want to put approximately 10 poofs in each section. And 3 rolls should cover 2 full sections on your wreath, and there are 6 sections on a 14-inch wreath. Once you get this method down, it goes nice and quick, and it gives you a beautiful, no fray base to work on. Okay, and that's just 3 poofs. And in each section, and a section is between the 2 crossbars, you want to put 10 poofs. Now I have my first 3 rolls of mesh attached, and at 10 poofs it completely covered 2 sections, and that's what you're looking for. If you come out short when you're doing your poofs and say you only have 9 per section, that's fine. You just want to keep them as relatively even as you can. And then once you get a section done, just go through. You don't have to open them up, but you do want to pull apart each of the colors so that you can see them. And you just want to try to kind of move the colors around so that you don't have like all the brown here. As you can see, I kind of moved it from one side to the other in the middle and back and forth so that all 3 colors are nicely mixed. But look at how beautiful and thick and full that base is. I'm going to finish my base, and then I'll be back and we can move forward and decorate. I have my Deco mesh base done, and it did take 9 full rolls. Now of course, if you didn't want to do 3 rolls at a time, you could do 2 colors at a time and cut it down to just 6 rolls of mesh. Your base won't be quite as thick and full, but it will still be beautiful and easy to fill. Now my finished base here is a good 20 inches in diameter, so this makes a lovely large wreath. I pulled out 3 ribbons. I got all of these out of the fall section at Dollar Tree this year. They're all 2.5 inches at 3 yards. We have this beautiful print. This is brand new this year. And I love the yellow, green, and orange pumpkins. It also has sunflowers and some really pretty pine cones. And then you have this beautiful plaid. It has all the same colors in it. And then they have this beautiful faux burlap, dark green, great accent ribbon. You need to cut 8 pieces of each ribbon at 10 inches. I have all my ribbon cut and I've started to make my ribbon bundles. Now I'm going to be making 3 different ribbon bundles and you'll need to make 4 of each bundle. So this is the first one, the second, and the third. So I'm just mixing up the ribbon. And it's 2 ribbon per bundle. And just find the center and scrunch. Do a little crisscross. Feed in my pipe cleaner. And I always like to pull everything down. It just makes it a little easier for me to get a good hold. Plus that way I can make sure it's in the center. Pinch at the base and give a good twist. And then I like to style my bundles a little bit before I put them on. I just want to kind of pull everything up and I bend the ends out. I want to make sure that the bundle is going to sit the way I want it to when it's in my wreath. That looks like that. And the next one I'll do these 2. So each style of bundle you should have 4. For a total of 12 ribbon bundles for this wreath. I have my ribbon bundles done and now I'm going to be attaching them to my wreath. I'm going to show you here on a blank form where I'm going to be attaching them. So on the inside, the 2 rings on the inside, at every crossbar I'm going to be placing a ribbon bundle. So that'll be here and here, and then around the outside in between the 2 crossbars, on the 2 bars on the outside I'll be placing 1 here. So you'll have a total of 12 ribbon bundles. 6 will be on the inside and 6 will be on the outside. So to attach those, you take your pipe cleaners, you feed it down in between the Deco mesh till you can get to the wire frame in the back. And then go ahead and attach it to the areas there on the wire frame. Make sure to tuck your pipe cleaners once you have your ribbon bundle in. Okay, and then you also want to kind of lift your ribbons up and open them out. Now I've decided not to do any dovetailing on this. I'm kind of been into the blunt ends on my ribbon, and that's what I'm going to do this time. If you would like to dovetail your ribbon, by all means, go right ahead. I'm going to get the rest of my ribbon bundles in. I think it looks beautiful. I can still see bits and pieces of my base and a great mix of all those beautiful fall ribbons. Now I want to add some sunflowers and some pine cones. So I pulled out 1 stem of this darker sunflower and 1 stem of the lighter. I cut my flowers off, but you want to leave a couple inches there. That'll help you to glue it into your wreath. And then I also pulled out 3 stems that I had that had pine cones. Each stem had 3 pine cones on it, so I cut those off, so I have a total of 6 pine cones. And now I just want to kind of play with my placement first. I want to add a few of the pine cones and some of the flowers. So I'm just going to kind of work around wherever the opposite is of where my ribbon is. I have a little bit of space, and that's where I'm going to put one of these elements. Just add some hot glue onto the stem and make sure that it gets good contact with the Deco mesh. I have all my embellishments on and I'm so happy with how this looks. Very festive fall. Absolutely gorgeous. My pine cones and my sunflowers, and I pulled those right from the ribbon. Now I've added some pipe cleaners here to my sign and I'm ready to attach him. And I like them right in the middle up on top. And all you do is you take your pipe cleaners, you feed it through the mesh, and you attach him onto the wire frame in the back. And there you go, we are all done. I absolutely love my fall Scarecrow Wreath. He came out so adorable. And could you imagine if you had dual doors? You have him on one side and his girlfriend on the other. Absolutely beautiful, made using all Dollar Tree items. To get started on our project, you're going to need one of these chair covers that you can pick up from Dollar Tree. It's a little scarecrow. Now they have two to choose from. They have this one with the orange hat and the little flower. That's a little girl. And then they also have one that has a brown hat and a little pumpkin up here. This is the one we're going to use today. Now you want to lift up the hair here and the hat, and we're going to trim right below because we want to remove the bottom half. We're going to redo the hat a little differently once we get our face done. So we're going to start with our bottom half here. You're also going to need one of the 12-inch wood rounds that you can pick up from Dollar Tree. Then you just want to remove the jute cord here to hang it. So we're going to cover the wood round here with the face. So you can see it just fits from top to bottom. And I like that it's thin enough that you can see through it, so you can make sure that you get that big old smile on there. Okay, so once you have them placed and you know where you want, you're going to go around and cut out the shape. And you need to leave yourself a good 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch because we're going to be wrapping that around. So I just kind of hold it and do a rough trim, making sure to leave myself that extra space. Now I have my face cut out. Now I'm going to be using a glue stick to get the front part here attached. And it's okay that it doesn't come all the way up over here. We're going to reapply the hat, so that'll cover the top part. Now just take your glue stick, get a good amount of glue evenly over the surface. Okay, then lay down your piece of felt and just with your hands work out any air bubbles. Make sure it's nice and smooth and that you have enough room around there to wrap it around to the back. Now that my face is attached with the glue stick, before I wrap it around, you want to take a pair of scissors and just about every inch go around the area that's hanging over and give a little snip. This will make it much easier to get a nice smooth wrap of that felt around to the back. So now I'm going around and attaching this to the back, and each little piece I just lay down a small amount of hot glue and fold it over. Now if you just go nice and slow, just do a single piece at a time, you'll get a very clean and smooth wrap around a round surface. I have my face fully secured, nice and clean on the back. I'm really happy with that. So now we're going to work on reattaching the hat, but of course we got to make this a little bit smaller. It's not going to work this way. So go ahead and lay it down, find out, you know, about where you want it to sit. And then to kind of help me with the size, I went in on this side. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to trim off the hair so I know how far or how wide I need my hat to be. Then if I need to go back and add some more of this hair back in, I can. So I've kind of been playing with my hat, trying to figure out how I want to do his hat. And I finally came to what I want to do. So here, the part that folded over, I cut that open because I want a more of a pointed hat on him, and I needed that extra fabric. So this is the width of his face. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that and I'm going to fold that area right in half, even though it's not in the center. But I need to find the center of the area. Okay. Then I'm going to take my yardstick here and I'm going to start at a point in the center, and then I'm going to come down to the base here. Now my head is this wide, so I need it to be a little wider so I can kind of fold it around to the back. Same thing at the top. Let's see if I can get it all in there. So I have a little extra piece here open at the top so I can fold it in. And then the same thing down here, I'm a little wider. I'm going to take a white pencil here and I'm going on the outside because I can always cut more off. I can't put it back on. Okay, so that gives me my line to cut. Okay, so I'm going to cut this side. Some areas of the felt are a little thick. So just do one side at a time to make sure you get a nice clean cut. Okay, I really like that shape. And his face is going to go here. Okay, so I like that height. So I'm going to just glue him on the front here with some hot glue. It's looking so cute already. Now to help me get it folded over correctly, I'm going to use my yardstick. So I'm going to put this edge right in the middle up here where I want the point to be, and then come down so that I'm right on the edge of the face. Now this is the area that I'm going to fold over, and I don't want to fold it over that. I just want to fold about a ½ inch over, but I want to make sure I keep that line straight. Okay. Just do a small section at a time, add some hot glue and fold over. Okay, you want to do the same thing that we just did to this side to the other side, so you have a very clean edge. Just take your time and make sure that you get that nice and straight. So I have both sides folded over and it's glued down, so I have a really clean line on either side. And now I want to add a rim to the hat here so that it kind of comes out a little bit. So I took one of the pieces from the sides. You just need to make sure that it's a good inch and a half wider on either side. And you want to fold that in half. And then you can trim out a rim. It doesn't have to be too wide, just a couple inches. And if you want to add a little bit of waving to it so it looks more like a hat. Okay, I think that looks cute. Now before I glue this down, I'm going to take the edge here that is going to be up against the hat here, and I'm going to fold it over by about 1/2 inch. I want to get a good crease in there so that I know that that's not going to lay real flat. I want to be able to kind of lift it up. So I need to help it with a crease there. Isn't that cute? I like that. Okay, so I'm going to glue that down right below. I'll start here in the center. I think that looks so cute. Now what I did was I kind of lifted up and I glued down that little flip underneath. Just keep adding some hot glue. I want to make sure that this stays lifted up. Doesn't have to be totally standing straight out, but yeah, lifting up just a little bit by adding some hot glue kind of right down there in the seam. And then kind of pushing it down and holding it up. You'll get that. And then I went and took a couple pieces here. I'm going to glue this in to add a little bit of hair. Just going to lift it up, put it underneath so a little bit comes out on either side. Now you can add as much or as little of the hair back as you like. But I think just a little bit on either side for the boy here is going to be plenty. Oh, he is just looking so adorable. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit more decorating and a little adjusting to the hat. So here on the hat, I think I want to kind of fold it so that it kind of comes over and then down. I think that looks really cute, so that's what we're going to do. And to do that, I'm going to come down a couple inches here, about 3 inches. I'm going to fold this tip together, and then I'm going to glue it. Now I'm going to leave the top, tippy top open right there because there's something I want to add. Now this is some of the hair. This is one of the longer pieces. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to cut some off. Now it's attached at this end, and then it's all cut and loose at the other. So the end that it's attached, I'm going to roll this up. Add a little bit of hot glue so it stays together. And then this is what I'm going to put in right here at the tip. And then glue it in there. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of pinch the top and fold the end over. And then here in the crease, I just kind of push it up till it comes together. That is so cute. And now I'm going to add some hot glue right in that crease so it stays. Absolutely adorable. So I put a piece of jute cord here on the back so that I can hang it. And I've decided I'm also going to add 2 of the large craft sticks here in the back to make sure that that hat stays standing up. Glue it to the back of the board first. Then I'm going to add just a little bit of hot glue there and glue it right to the hat. So I want to make sure that that hat stays standing up when it's hanging. This project can also be used as a wreath attachment. Very cute. I love the rim. Okay, now there's only one more thing I want to do is add a little bit of decoration to the hat here. And I pulled out 2 pine cones and this little thing that looks like a little pumpkin. The pine cones and this came together in a little pack. And then I pulled off some of this wheat from a flower stem. This one has some daisies and some wheat. It's just called a wheat stem. And I just want to add a little bit of something something up here to his hat. And there you go, we are all done. I think that was the perfect final addition for his hat. Oh, he's so adorable, and what a bargain. 2 items and a little decor, and you have this cute scarecrow wall decor. Now this is the sign that we're going to be working with today. Dollar Tree has 2 to choose from. This one, and then the other one has a different saying, and the shovel down here is more galvanized looking, but I really liked this one. Now the first thing that you're going to want to do is it comes with this extra piece that's attached that comes down past. Now I tried to remove that. I originally was going to move that down, but it broke off, and I realized now that they also added some small nails in there, so these pieces are very well secure, so that's okay. I just didn't want to see that stake part down past my shovel there, but I'm happy with the size, and I'm glad to know that all the pieces are going to be nice and sturdy. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add a little bit of twine here to my handle, and I'm just going to cover this area right here in between. To make it easier on myself, I just unraveled an amount to do here because I need to feed it in and out through the hole there. But I'm going to start to attach it here on the back. I'm just going to use a small amount of hot glue. So just work on wrapping the handle. You just want to do this section in the middle. Keep it nice and tight, and every once in a while you're going to want to tack it down in the back. Now I have my jute cord attached, and I'm really happy with that. It adds just that little bit of extra something something. And now I'm going to add some pipe cleaners here to the back so I can attach it to my swag. And I'm going to be using my staple gun because this is nice and thick, so I don't have to worry about it going through to the front. My staples in here are only 1/4 inch in length, but it's sufficient to hold on a sign. And I also like to add just a little bit of hot glue in case the staples didn't get tight. I don't want my pipe cleaner sliding out. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. This is now ready to go on the swag. Now for the base of our swag, I'm going to be using a 5-gallon stir stick. Now these are very inexpensive. You can usually pick them up at the paint store at any home improvement. Sometimes they'll just give you one if you ask, but you need the larger one, which is the 5-gallon. And sometimes they have a lot of print on them. If they have a lot of print on them and you don't like it, you can always paint the base first before you attach your pipe cleaners. But this one is completely plain on this side, and it has a very light white ruler here, so I'm not going to worry about painting my base. The ruler part I'm going to have up, and we'll put the mesh over it so you won't be able to see it. And then if you do see any part of the back, you're just going to see a nice clean piece of wood. So the first thing I want to add is something right up here at the top where it comes in. This is what I'm going to use to hang my piece. So the first thing is I want to take my 2 ends, twist them together a couple times, and then pull it out. Take that smaller piece and wrap it around. Okay, then do the same thing to the other side. Wrap it around in the opposite direction. Okay, and then I'm going to take this piece, and that's going to go on the side where you have any kind of print. If you have print, or for me it's going to be the ruler side. That's going to be kind of like my nasty side where all my bad stuff is hidden. So then I'm just going to pull that around, and of course leave the twisted part back there, and then get it nice and tight and twist. Okay, so I have a nice little loop there on the back side, and that's what I'm going to use to hang my project when I'm done. It's just easier to put it on now first. And see, it's not going to slide up because you put it in the indentation. Okay. Now, with the side that you have your loop, you want that facing down. Now we're going to figure out how many pipe cleaners we want. I'm going to put one at the top here. Put one at the bottom here, only about a 1/2 inch up. Then I'll put one in the middle, and then 2 in between. Okay, so that's how I'm going to lay out my pipe cleaners for attaching my mesh. And now I'm just going to go ahead and put those on, wrap it around the piece of wood there, pull it nice and taut, and give a twist or two, and leave those coming up. Just like that. Okay, so I'm going to get each of these attached, and I'm going to have them all coming up. And I have all of my pipe cleaners on that go down the middle. I'm now adding some on the sides. You want to start at the top, add one on either side, skip one, and then the second one or third one, put one on either side, skip, and then put one on either side, skip, and put one on either side. And you do the same thing, just wrap it around, find the center. I usually put one below and one on top of the one in the center. Hands work. Just pull it tight and give it a pinch. Okay, so this one coming on this side is on the top, the one in the middle is coming up, and then the one on the bottom is coming to the other side. Then I just go in with some hot glue and put a little bit in between so that it holds all three of those together. And on the single one, I just add a little bit below it. I don't want that to move either when I'm attaching my mesh. You're also going to need some Dollar Tree mesh. Now, I'm not exactly sure how much I'm going to need. I pulled out 4 rolls of this really pretty kind of green mesh from Dollar Tree. This comes out of their fall section. And I also pulled out 2 rolls of this really pretty kind of gold color. This also comes in their fall section. Now I have 2 rolls of the green and 1 roll of the yellow. And to get this started, you want to take the ends of each of the colors, kind of scrunch them and put them side by side. Okay. And we're going to start here at the top where our loop is to hang it. We're going to start in the center. So you want to take your ends, pull all of your mesh together. You want to measure at about 12 inches, pinch, and you want to pull it together. So there are your ends. Then you're going to take that big poof and you're going to put it right in the first pipe cleaner there. You're going to pull that nice and snug and give a good twist. Okay. Then you're going to measure again at 12 inches and start to measure here where it's attached. Pull out to 12 inches, pinch. Go to the next pipe cleaner, place it in the center. Give it a good tight twist. Okay, you're going to continue to do that all the way to the bottom till you get to the last pipe cleaner that's facing upward. And now on the bottom one here, instead of placing it flat down like this, kind of twist it. Where you pinched it and then tighten it down. That way that bottom loop comes down. Plus that tells you what side you're going to go to. Okay, so I've come all the way down the center and now I'm going to move to this side and I'm going to go back up to the top, doing the same thing, measuring at 12 inches. So measure 12 inches and go to the side. Okay, so I'm back here at this end, the top. I'm going to do a pit stop here in the center and add that loop and then measure another 12 inches and go to the other side. I want to make sure that I have a nice thick full base. Okay, I'm at the end of the yellow roll. So I'm going to trim. I've attached it here to the pipe cleaner. And I want to leave at least an inch so it doesn't pull back through, and then I can trim off the excess. Okay, so this is where I ended. And now when I start my next 3 rolls, I'm going to start right here so that I can finish. Okay, so I've gone all the way down around and I'm back where I started. I still have mesh left from my second set of rolls, so I'm going to add that because I want my base to be as thick as possible. So what I did was I went around the end and attached it to the other side. Then I measured 12 inches and came into the center. I skipped one, came into the center. And then I measured another 12 and went to the outside to the next pipe cleaner on the outside. And now I'm going to do the same thing and work my way back. By the time I get to the back to the top here, I should finish off the rest of my mesh. So again, I'm going to measure 12 inches and pinch. Now I'm on this side. Now I'm going to move to the center, but I'm going to skip one, go up to the next one. Turn this here. And then I'm going to place it in those pipe cleaners that are in the center. I'm going to twist it down a couple more times, trim it, leave it about a ½ inch so it doesn't come undone, and then push those pipe cleaners facing down. Grab again, measure at 12 inches, and now we're going to go to the outside and we're going to go up to the next pipe cleaner that's on the outside. Again, twist it down, trim it, and tuck your pipe cleaners. Okay, so I'm back at the top. I'm going to measure 12 inches and go to the center, and then I'm going to measure 12 inches and go to the side, and that's where I'm going to trim my mesh. Now, as you can see, my base looks nice and thick. The only thing that I'm going to go through now and kind of just separate each of the loops so I get as much density as I can. I'm not going to fully open them up. I'm just going to pull them apart so that they're separate. And any of the pipe cleaners that I didn't already twist down and trim, I'll give another twist or two, trim them and tuck them. I have all my mesh on and I think it looks really good. This is what the back looks like. Just kind of push everything over. I have my hanger there. So this is the top. Now my sign, see if it fits very well. And I think I want to do a slight bit of an angle so I have a little bit more space up here for the bow. And I want to make sure that I come down almost to the bottom and just slightly angled to the side like that. I think that looks cute, and then that'll give me plenty of room for a bow, and then I can add a few other elements throughout. And to attach that, you just take your pipe cleaners, you'll feed it through the mesh, and then you'll attach it to the piece of wood. So I have my sign on and I have it just at an angle, and my point here comes right down to the bottom. Now to make sure that this doesn't shift as I'm adding my other items, I'm going to go in and just put in some hot glue underneath so it can glue to the deco mesh. That way I know it's not going to move on me. We're going to work on our bow now. Now I pulled out these two absolutely gorgeous ribbon I found at Dollar Tree this year. They are brand new. They are 2.5 inches at 3 yards. And I really love this one. I think that is so pretty with the different colored pumpkins. And then this is just really pretty too. It has all those same colors in it as a really pretty check. Very nice. So we're going to mix these two in our bow. And I'm going to start here with my plaid or check. And let's see, I think I'm going to measure my tails here at about 10 inches. I want to start with a nice long set of tails. Okay, so here on your tails, the nice side of your ribbon should be facing up. Once you come through the dowel rods, you need to twist so that the nice side of your ribbon is facing down. And then I'm going to measure 2 loops on either side at 5 inches with this ribbon. Okay, now I'm going to go to my beautiful pumpkin ribbon here. And again, this time I'm going to go 8 inches, so this one's a little bit shorter. Pinch and twist. And with this one I'm going to do 2 loops on either side at 4 inches. Okay, so I've decided I'm going to add one more loop for a center loop for my bow here. And I'm going to measure that one at about 2 to 2.5 inches. Okay, then I'm going to move back to the correct side. And I do that by coming between the 2 dowel rods here in the front, the smaller one and the larger one. That just helps me keep that extra piece of ribbon on this side, so when I tie my bow together it's correct. Then I just need to measure out my tail and trim. You'll also need a full-length pipe cleaner. So lift up your bow and slide it down underneath till you get up next to the dowel rods. Just pull that up. I'm going to pinch it together. I push my bow down. Pinch so I can keep it nicely stacked. Lift it out. And make sure you still have that little piece. Take the pipe cleaners and wrap them around to the back. Pull it nice and snug and give a good twist or two. And then you just kind of pull your tails down. I always like to hold it right in the center so I don't pull too hard and pull out a loop. Now this little center loop will cover the center there. Now I like to do my tails and my final adjusting with my bow once I get it onto my swag. And that's approximately what your bow should look like. Now I have my bow attached and I'm really happy. I did go back and trim the pumpkin tails a little bit shorter. They were covering up the top part here, which I wanted to show. And then the longer ones I just kind of pulled to the side. But I'm really happy with that. I think it stands out really pretty. Now there's a couple more elements I want to add to our swag here. Dollar Tree always has a ton of the little pumpkins and they have so many different ones to choose from this year. I decided to go with the muted pumpkin clips. You get 3. I pulled out 3 different colors. So I have this one that's in a muted green, kind of a muted orange, and then this one's a little off-white. Now all of these come with a little clip here on the back for you to attach it to your wreath. Now that's great for working with placement to clip it in, but then once you do find your placement, along with the clip, you should also add some hot glue. And if your wreath is going to go outside, in combination with the hot glue, you want to use Aleene's original tacky glue. The hot glue will keep everything in place until Aleene's fully sets up. Now Aleene's will make it weather resistant, so if it goes outside and you get extreme temperatures, hot or cold, nothing is going to fall off your wreath. And that's Aleene's original tacky glue in combination with hot glue. Okay, I'm going to get these opened up and then we'll start placing them. So I've laid out where I want to place my little pumpkins and it looks like I'm probably only going to use 2 of each color. And I've started to glue them down. Now I originally wanted to clip them on and glue them down, but I found that that's quite difficult to get it to sit exactly the way I want. So I've just been removing the clips and hot gluing them on. Again, if you want to put your wreath outside, you're also going to want to use Aleene's original tacky glue. So add a good amount of hot glue once you find where you want to place your pumpkins, and then glue them right onto the mesh. And when you're placing your pumpkins, you want to make sure to kind of angle them in a couple different directions so that they don't all look like they're staring in the same spot. Now I also want to add some acorns, and I picked these cute little guys up from Dollar Tree. And then I may also go in and add some pine cones, but I'm not sure about that. I want to get my little acorns on first and then see how it looks. And again, you're just going to be attaching it to the mesh or to the sign, wherever you would like to place them. And I'm just going to scatter them throughout. All right, now I have everything attached onto my swag here, and I'm really happy with the end result. I did end up using all of the small pumpkins. I snuck another one in here, one up here, and then one kind of up in the corner up here. And then I used about 1 full bag of the acorns that you can get at Dollar Tree. I put some on singly and then I clustered some together. I thought that looked really nice. And I'm very happy. It's nice and thick and full, and it looks like a happy harvest fall swag. For this project, you're going to need an 8-inch wire wreath form that you can pick up at Dollar Tree, some pipe cleaners cut in half, and some Dollar Tree Deco mesh. This comes out of the fall section. This is kind of their sage green. I have my mesh unwrapped and ready to go. I have my pipe cleaners cut in half. We're going to be doing the poof method today. And I have 4 rolls of Dollar Tree Deco Mesh. I'm going to be working with 2 rolls at a time. And with that amount, I have enough to put about 15 poofs in each section. And the section is between the 2 crossbars. Now this wreath has 3 sections, and these sections are a little bit larger than what you would find on their 14-inch wreath form. And when I attach them, I'm going to be attaching it to the 2 bars here on the outside, the center bar and the outer bar. Now to get this started, you want to take the end of 2 rolls, you scrunch them together, and you really want to put these side by side. You don't want to layer your mesh. If you do that, when you go back to separate those poofs, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to get them to separate if you layer the mesh. Okay, so attach a pipe cleaner, make sure that's nice and secure. We're going to attach it right here at a crossbar. I don't want my end to slide around as I work. Give a twist or 2. Take those Deco Mesh ends, pull them to the back, and then I always pull them back through my pipe cleaners here. Pull my pipe cleaners together and give another twist or 2. I don't want my ends to pull through while I'm working on my wreath. Now you can trim your Deco Mesh. You need to leave about 1 inch. And then if your pipe cleaner seems too long, you can trim it a little bit. And then you want to tuck that forward. Okay. Now today we're going to be measuring our poofs at 8 inches. And you want to start to measure here where you have attached it to your wreath form. Once you hit 8 inches, pinch and add a pipe cleaner. I always like to pull it down. I can get a nice tight grip that way. And then you take those 2 pipe cleaners and you wrap it from the front to the back around the center bar and the outer bar. Pull your pipe cleaners together nice and snug and give a twist or 2. Then I like to pull my pipe cleaners together and I push them forward. This keeps the back of my wreath looking nice and clean, keeps any sharp edges away from the door. And once you get the front filled in, you're not going to see those pipe cleaners. So again, measure it 8 inches. Add a pipe cleaner. And then sometimes what I like to do to kind of get things to go a little bit faster is I will measure out 5 or 6 poofs and attach my pipe cleaners and then go back and attach it to the wreath form. This just makes the process of doing the base a little bit more less tedious because you're mixing up a little bit more. Because you are doing the same repetition over and over again on your wreath base. So then once you have a few on, just start attaching them. And you need to do a minimum of 10, but you can do up to 15 poofs per section. And you just keep sliding your poofs over. Once you have a section done, you're going to want to go back and open up your poofs, and that just means go in and separate the 2 rolls. Every time you measure, you're actually creating 2 poofs instead of 1, and you want to take full advantage of that. So just go in and separate the 2. You don't have to open them up, just pull them apart and go to the next loop and do the same thing. But see how pretty that looks? I'm going to work on getting my base done, and then I'll be back and we can decorate. I have my base done on my wreath and I love it. It's so nice and thick and full. Now at this time, if you have anything sticking out, any little bits of fraying from the mesh, this is when you need to trim it up. Here on the back, you can see that I kept my back nice and clean by tucking all of my pipe cleaners. Now I was able to get about 13 or 14 poofs per section. Absolutely beautiful, nice, thick, full base. And even though this is an 8-inch wreath form, it'll give you a good 14 to 15-inch finished wreath base. To go on our wreath today, I'm going to be using this really cute little Hello Fall metal sign at Dollar Tree. And I like the way they have this set up. They have holes in here that they have the jute cord. I'm going to remove that. That's what I'm going to use to attach it. And then if you don't like the raffia bow, there's also another 2 holes and a tie there. So you can easily remove that and put whatever bow you'd like. So I've added some floral wire here where I removed the jute cord. And I like to use the silver because this pretty much disappears on most colors. So today I want to place my Hello Fall over to one side and down just a little bit. So right about there. And to get that attached, I'm going to use my floral wire. Separate your mesh, feed the floral wire down till you get to the wire frame in the back, and then you attach it here to the wire frame. Now you can attach it wherever you need to on the wire frame to get your sign to sit the way that you want. I have my sign attached. It's nice and sturdy. It's not going to go anywhere. And I pulled out these really pretty little off-white pumpkins. I'm going to be adding these, and I got these from 3 stems of the floral bouquets. So you can see I pulled it off right there. So I have 3 of these, so I was able to pull off 3 pumpkins. I'm also going to use some of the little grain there. I think that's cool, and I might even use the pine cone, but we'll see. But I'm going to start by getting these attached, and I just want to kind of place them and angle them around the base here. And now I'm going to add some of these. I think they look like little wheat berries. And I have 4 little pieces. And I want to add my greenery kind of right in this section. I always like to play with my placement a little bit before I get them down. Once you find your placement, then go ahead and hot glue them in. Now I have a few little pieces of some maple leaves here in the light color, and I have a couple that have some berries. I'm going to add these as well. And now I'm going to add some of these really pretty fall sunflowers. They're nice and tiny. I have all of my florals in, and I'm really happy with the result. Now I did take this and hang it up on my door and look at it. I did a little readjusting with my sign. I lifted it up just a little bit. I wanted to get a better view of my pumpkins. And now I'm happy with it. I did add a few more bits of florals. Now the next thing I want to do is add a little bow at the top. I picked this ribbon up at Dollar Tree. It comes in their fall section. It's 2.5 inches at 3 yards. You'll want to cut 2 pieces at 16 inches and 1 piece at 13 inches. You'll also need a full-length pipe cleaner. Okay, your 13-inch piece, that's going to be your tails. You want to take the 2 16-inch pieces. You want to pull them together so they form a circle and that your ends cover themselves by about 1 inch. And then press down to find the center. You want to do that to both pieces. Now my cut side is facing up. That's my back. So then you take your final piece, which is your tails, and you add that. Just do your best to get it in the center. Then you want to go ahead and scrunch in the center. Take your pipe cleaner, wrap that around, pull it to the back. Get it nice and snug and give a good twist. Then pull your tails down and open up your loops. And that's approximately what your bow should look like. I have my bow attached, and I think that is the perfect final addition for this beautiful small fall wreath. I absolutely love the color tones. They go so well with this Hello Fall metal sign that I found at Dollar Tree. For our project, you're going to need one of these cute little craft kits that you can pick up in the fall section at Dollar Tree. This one makes a little turkey, a scarecrow head, and an owl. Now they have 3 different packs to choose from. You can use whichever one that you would like. Each pack will make 6 individual. So you get 2 owls in this one, 2 scarecrow, and 2 turkeys. You're also going to need some jute cord. Now when you get your package, they each come individually wrapped like a little craft kit like this. So this is the turkey, this is the scarecrow, and the owl. They're very easy to put together. All the pieces are already cut and ready to go. You just have to glue everything together. So you have your cute little face. And the hat, you need to make sure that when you're gluing it that the hat, one side has a stripe, one doesn't, so you want to make sure that stripe comes up. So before I glue all these together, what I do is I usually put them together to make sure I have all the pieces, that I understand how they go together so that they look right. Little pieces are his hair. I have to say, the only thing I don't like is like right here, Greenbrier International, and it's on the front. So you have to be really careful when you place that hat that you cover it. So I just get all my little pieces in order, and you can refer to the little pictures here if you're not sure where something goes. Okay, so that's approximately how they go. So you go through each one and you put them together, and then you glue them together. And when you do, this is what they look like when they're completed. I think they are so cute. The little turkey, our adorable little scarecrow, and the owl. Okay, so here on the scarecrow, I found that if you kind of glue the little pieces of hair to the hat first before you glue them down, that tends to work pretty good. And you can use school glue, but I found that the felt really does absorb the school glue, and so you have to put glue down like twice because it absorbs it. So then I just moved to doing the hot glue, and it works really well. It doesn't come through so you don't see it from the front or anything, and then you don't have to wait for it to dry. So I found that hot glue is the best way to go. One other thing that I came across with the little scarecrow ones, because of where they put the greenbrier, sometimes you have to bring the hat down just a little bit further than they intended. So if you have any little bit of the face here that shows, just trim. So very cute. You'll want to put together all 6 of your pieces. I have all my pieces together. Now on the back here, you want to take about a 2-inch piece of jute cord, fold it together so you make a little loop. And I just add a tiny bit of hot glue, pull those ends together. And then you want to glue the loop onto the back in the center, but you don't want to see it from the front, so you want to make sure that it's low enough that it's behind your character. You'll want to do that with each character. I have all my felt pieces together from the craft kit. And now I have 7 small little wood rounds. I did pick this up from Dollar Tree. Over in the craft section, they had packages of small wood shapes. They had round, square, and I think triangular, but we're going to use the small round ones. You'll need 7 of them. And I'm also going to be using my Waverly Antique Wax. So I'm just adding a little bit of the Waverly Antique Wax, and I'm just using a paper towel. Just rub it on real good, and then I use a clean part of the towel and take off any excess. But look at how pretty you get that wood grain. You'll want to do that to all 7 pieces. Now while our wood rounds are drying, you're going to need 3 fall ribbons. These are the 3 that I've chosen, and these are all the small ribbon, 5/8 of an inch at 3 yards, and I did pick up all 3 of these from Dollar Tree. We have this really pretty burlap with the leaves. I love this with the green background and the owls. It goes so cute with the owls, and then your neutral and orange check. Very pretty. You'll want to cut 7 pieces of each ribbon at about 7 inches in length. Okay, I have a piece of each of my ribbons. And now I want to put this one, which is just the plain check, in the middle. And then I'm going to alternate between which one I put up on top. And just grab them at one end and kind of stack them on top of each other. But you want it to kind of flare out a little bit at the bottom so you can see all 3. Put a little dab of hot glue in between the ribbons so that they all glue together. And then we're going to glue that on the back of one of the rounds. You want to make sure that the knife side of your ribbon is facing forward. And then again, you're going to need a small piece of jute cord, about 2 inches or less. Pull it together to make a little loop and attach it onto the back. And that is what they look like. So on this one you can see I have the leaf ribbon on the front, and then on this one I have the owl ribbon out on the front. So that's why I'm alternating between the two. You'll want to do that to all of your rounds. Now, doesn't that look adorable? So I put a ribbon bundle in between each of the characters. Once you have all your pieces done and the glue has set up, you just want to go ahead and string it onto a piece of jute cord. And then on the ends, just tie a nice little loop. And I have not tied off my other end. I'm going to wait till I get downstairs and I hang it across my fireplace. I want to make sure that it hangs at the height or length that I want. So that's why I've left a little extra here on the end, and then I will tie it off once I get downstairs and know exactly how long I'm going to need it. So you just run it through the loops that you placed on the back, and I like that because it allows you to slide them on the jute cord. But once they're up, they're not going to slide around. You actually have to grab them and move them because you know your jute cord's a little rough. But I like that because then you can adjust it depending on whatever area that you're going to place it. But I love it. I think that is so adorable. Love the scarecrow, the turkey. I love it all. You will need an 8-inch wreath form, some pipe cleaners cut in half, and some Dollar Tree Deco mesh. You should only need 1 roll. You can pick whatever 3 colors you would like to use. You want to cut your mesh into strips at 12 inches. I have all my mesh open and stacked. That just makes quick work of cutting. Now I prefer to use a rotary cutter, but if you don't have one, you can always use a good pair of scissors. You just need to use something that's very sharp so you get a really clean cut. I did pick up this rotary cutter from Dollar Tree and I absolutely love it. I buy them about once every 6 months or so. They last me that long, 6 to 8 months, and then the blade starts getting dull, so I toss it, buy a new one. So that's cheaper than buying replacement blades for my Fiskars, which is what I used to use before Dollar Tree came out with these. As you can see, they cut very well, and I've already been using this for several months. So once you have all of your mesh cut into strips at 12 inches, we're going to be doing the folded ruffle method today. Now I designed this method back in May of 2020 to be used specifically with Dollar Tree mesh because it does fray. You'll get very little to no fraying with this method. So you want to fold your ends over themselves by about 1 inch so you form a little tube. Then you press down, hold both ends, scrunch from the bottom to the middle, and then scrunch from the top to the middle. You want to hold that right in the center. And then you want to wrap your pipe cleaner around the bottom and up. You want those ends up on the top. So all of your cut ends are here on the top. You want that to be your bottom. So I like to pull down so I can get a nice tight grip and twist. And then you open up your folded ruffle and it looks like that. I think they look like a little butterfly. This looks so pretty when you use striped mesh. Okay, I will show you one more time. So I'm getting my bundles attached to my wreath form, and that is one section that I have completed. And I wanted to show you how to attach these. You take your pipe cleaners and you feed them on either side of the two bars. Now I'm alternating between attaching it to the inner bar and the outer bar, and then the center bar and the inner bar. And the reason why I'm doing that is I don't want my wreath to look striped all the way around with the three colors. So by moving one a little bit more on the outer, a little bit more on the inner, it mixes them up a little bit better. So you don't get just stripes all the way around. They kind of shift in color, which is what I wanted. I want it to look a little bit more mixed. So you can see I attach a bundle here on the inside and then a bundle here on the outside, and I just keep going back and forth. Now each roll of mesh should give you 15 cuts, so you should be able to put 15 bundles in each section. If you run a little short, which does happen sometimes with Dollar Tree mesh, it's okay if you only get maybe 13 bundles in each section. That's plenty. As you can see, that is one section, and that is nice and full. By the time I'm done, this wreath will be nice, big, thick, and beautiful. I have my base complete. Look at how pretty all those fall colors look together. Very, very nice. Now once you get your base finished, because this is Dollar Tree mesh, you're going to want to go through and clean it up. If you see anything sticking out, just trim it off. Once you get your bundles made and you get them placed, you're not going to get a lot of fraying with this method. But while you're working with it, you may end up getting a little bit of the ends coming apart, or sometimes on Dollar Tree mesh, they don't seal the sides really well and you may get a little bit there. That's okay. Just trim anything that looks funny off. You're not going to need to worry about it after that. But if you're not really familiar with working with Dollar Tree mesh and you would like to know more, I have a great video, and that is called How to Work with Dollar Tree Deco Mesh. That will explain all the different kinds of mesh Dollar Tree carries and how to use them, and the best methods for using Dollar Tree mesh. I will link that video for you at the end. So I'm really happy with my base there. Now we're going to add this cute little tin sign. I really liked this one. I like that black print that says Happy Harvest, but of course you can use whichever signs you can find in your store. And this time I want to place it pretty much in the center, maybe down just a little bit, because I do want to place a bow up here at the top. And then I have a few other small elements I want to add. I like that. I think that's really pretty, and that'll give me just a little bit of extra space at the top for my bow. Now on my sign here, I've already removed the jute cord and I've added some floral wire, and I like to use the silver floral wire because it pretty much disappears once you get your sign on. So once you find your placement, you just take those floral wires, you feed it through the deco mesh until you get to the wire frame in the back, and you attach it to the wire frame. I have my sign attached. It's nice and sturdy. It's not going to go anywhere. And I think that looks so striking on that beautiful, colorful background. Now I made just a basic bow. I just had one strip of this ribbon left and I wanted to use it on here because I think the colors go together wonderfully. And I want to place this right at the top, and then I'm going to kind of spread the tails out side to side. And then to attach it, I'm going to do the same thing that I did here with the sign. I'm going to take those pipe cleaners, feed it through, and attach it to the wire frame in the back. I have the bow on. Look at how pretty that is. And that ribbon came from Dollar Tree. Very, very pretty. This is new this year. Now, there's a few final elements I want to add. I'm going to add a few pine cones here. And I pulled these off of some stems. I ordered a whole case of these for the cotton, the wheat, and the pine cones, and I'm still working on them. So that's where I got my little pine cones. And then I also pulled out some of the acorns that you can also get at Dollar Tree. Everything that I'm using on this wreath today came from Dollar Tree. Now, if you're going to put this wreath outside, when you attach your elements, you want to use a combination of Aleene's original tacky glue and hot glue. The hot glue will hold it in place until Aleene's is able to set up. Once Aleene sets up, your wreath will be weather resistant as far as those items falling off. Now, I tried this last Christmas. I used on a green wreath, I glued all kinds of ornaments on it. I put it out front. It got rain, sleet, we had hail, hot sun, cold weather, nothing fell off my wreath. This stuff works great. For today, because I'm going to be using these in my house, I'm just going to be using hot glue. But like I said, if you want to put your wreath outside, you want to use a combination of Aleene's original tacky glue and hot glue. Now I want to take, actually I decided to go with one of the large ones. I'm going to use one of these large acorns. I want to put it right in the middle of my bow here. Kind of hide my pipe cleaner there. And if you notice right here on the ribbon, they do have some pine cones and some sunflowers and pumpkins. You could always add some of those elements as well. Now to attach your pine cones, if your pine cones don't have a stem, that's okay. You can just put the hot glue and Aleene's on the very bottom. You just want to make sure that when you're attaching these that you nestle them into the deco mesh so that they get good contact. That way you won't have any issues of those falling off. Same thing when you're gluing on your acorns. Make sure that they get good contact to the mesh. And here you go. We are complete. Oh, I absolutely love it. I think the acorns and the pine cones were the perfect final addition for this beautiful harvest fall wreath. They did a great job with the new ribbon from Dollar Tree. I love it. It's so beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. These size wreaths are perfect to hang on interior doors, to hang on your cabinets, even to put on mirrors. They look absolutely beautiful. If you know anyone who has limited space, maybe they're in a senior living facility or live in an apartment, a small wreath like this is a perfect gift. For the base of our wreath today, I'm going to be using this gorgeous large grapevine wreath that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. This measures about 18 inches across and 26 inches long. I really do like the oval shape, especially for certain wreaths, and I think it's going to fit this one perfectly. I'm going to go through all of the items that I'm going to be adding to the wreath. These are some really pretty eucalyptus stems. Now, I picked these up from Amazon. You can find them in my Amazon associate shop. You can find the link in the description box below. I have 4 stems. I may not need all 4, but I did pull them out. And then I have this one stem I picked up. I believe this came from Michael's. I always like to go in after Christmas when everything is like 90% off and go through and see if they have any good greenery, because greenery is so expensive, and when I can find it I do pick it up. And this is normally $9.99, but I really do like this one because it has like 2 or 3 different types of greenery in this one stem, and I'm going to be removing the paper and using each individual stem. Now, in addition to that, I pulled these out. I picked these up from Dollar Tree, and these are just called mini pomegranate. I'm not sure if I'm going to need those or not, but I grabbed them. And then I wanted some more pine cones to add, and I had purchased a whole case of this. It's just called cotton. but I like it because it has such a good variety, and I've been able to use quite a bit off of each of the stems. But today I'm mostly interested in just using those pine cones. And then I did pick up a couple embellishments that matched the ribbon from Craft Outlet. This is one of them, and they just call it an ornament, but I really like it. And this is why I pulled out the eucalyptus and this type of greenery, because they already have it here on the embellishment along with some berries. It also has a cinnamon stick on this one. And then I also picked up a couple of this little pick. Again, it has that same kind of orange slice, the eucalyptus and the greenery, but this one also comes with a little pine cone. And I picked up 2 of these and 3 of these. I don't know if I will use all of them, most likely, but we'll see when I start pulling everything together. And I also pulled out these, which are little acorns, and I picked these up from Dollar Tree. So I have everything prepped and ready to go. Here on my pine cones, I made sure to leave at least a couple inches there of a stem that'll help me glue it into the wreath. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be using all of these. I may even need a few more, but we'll see as we go. And I only cut one stem here of the pomegranates. I just kind of pushed the greenery up and again left about 3 to 4 inches. I can always trim these shorter if I need to, but I want to make sure that the stem is long enough for where I need to place it. Here on my eucalyptus, I just left it the way it is. I will trim the length here once I go to attach it. And then the one big bunch there of greenery, they actually had about 3 or 4, let's see, 4 different greeneries here. I have this one, and then this one, which is a little different. It's a little bit larger, and then this one, and this one. And I like these because there's no glitter, there's no shine, there's no snow. So it's exactly what I'm looking for. But before we start to attach these, we're going to make our bow. We're going to do our bow now, and I'm going to be using my Easy Bow Maker. I really do like this tool. I tend to suffer from arthritis in my hands, and when I'm suffering a flare-up, it's really hard for me to hold things, so this makes it very easy for me to make nice big bows. It holds everything for me, plus it gives me measurements on both sides, so I get everything nice and even. I did pick this up from Amazon. You can find it in my Amazon associate shop, and there is a link in the description box below. I pulled out 3 ribbons to use today on this wreath. This one I picked up from Dollar Tree, and they're going to have it again this year. This is their faux burlap. It comes in their fall, and this is 2.5 inches at 3 yards. And then these 2 ribbon have the same motif, which I absolutely love. This was the inspiration for the wreath. I have it in 2.5 inches and 1.5 inches. I will insert the item numbers for both of these ribbons. So to get started today on our bow, I'm going to start with the beautiful printed ribbon here at 2.5 inches. Myself a clean edge to work with. Now I'm going to measure out my tails at about, let's see, 10 inches. I want them a little long, and I'm probably going to add a second set, but I'm not going to do that right now while I'm making the bow. I can always add that in the back. Now once you come through, you're going to want to come through the 2 large dowel rods, and then you twist. So here on your tails, you want the nice side of the ribbon to be facing up, but once you come through to make your loops, you want the nice side of the ribbon to be facing down. And with this ribbon, I'm going to be measuring here at about 5 inches, and I'm going to make 3 loops on either side at 5 inches. Another thing that I really love about the bow maker is that you can sit there and play with your bow while it's in the bow maker before you tie it down to make sure that you're going to get the look that you want. Now I'm going to move on to this gorgeous orange ribbon. Look at how well that goes with that. On this I'm going to measure my tails at 8 inches. Again, I'm going to pinch and twist as I come through. And with this ribbon, I'm going to make 2 loops on either side at 4 inches. And now I'm going to move on to the 1.5 inch ribbon. Measure my tail again at 8 inches, pinch and twist. And with this ribbon, I'm going to measure my loops again at about 4 inches or maybe just slightly smaller. And with this, I want to do 3 loops on one side and 4 loops on the other. So I have my 3 loops on either side, and I'm going to add 1 more loop to this side so that that's kind of my center loop, and I want it just slightly smaller. And then when I come back to the other side for my tail, I'm going to come between the large dowel rod and the small one here in the front. That helps me keep a little piece of the ribbon on the correct side, so when I tie it all together it looks cohesive and it won't fall apart. And then measure out my tail. Take a full-length pipe cleaner and slide it down on one side underneath to get next to the dowel rods. I like to pull it together so it's nice and even. Push down on your bow and then pinch them and lift out. That will help keep everything stacked properly for you. Make sure everything is in the right place and it's properly stacked. Cross over and pull to the back. Now, if you prefer to use floral wire or bow wire, by all means. I am a pipe cleaner or chenille stem person. I like them. Get that nice and snug and tight. Now, my pipe cleaners aren't going to be long enough here to attach it to my wreath, so I'm going to add an additional one. Just lay it in the middle. Pull the other 2 over and give a twist or 2. And then I take one of the short ends and I wrap it around the long end. And then the other one goes around the other. This just makes it very secure, and now I have plenty of pipe cleaner to be able to attach it to my wreath. Okay. Now that one loop right there, that's going to be kind of like your center loop, so that's going to cover your pipe cleaner. And now just work your way and kind of open up and move your loops around. And fluff out your bow. Now, if you don't want all your tails coming down, you can also, with these, make them a little bit shorter. If you want maybe some coming out the top and the sides, however you want to design your bow, you go for it. lot of times I like to wait till I get my bow onto my wreath before I decide exactly what I'm going to do with all my tails. But I absolutely love this ribbon. Okay, I will do my final fluffing and decide what I'm going to do with my tails once I get it onto the wreath. I do know that I want to add some longer tails, but I'm going to wait until after I get everything else on. But I do want to get this part of my bow placed so that I know how much space I have and what I have to fill in. But look at that, it's nice and big, and just a little bit of this orange really sets off the other ribbon. Absolutely beautiful. Now I decided I needed a little bit more greenery, so I pulled out another stem that I picked up from Michael's. And it's just your basic kind of winter greenery, but it's not flocked or anything, so that's why I'm using it. And I'm just going to trim it into individual stems. I was playing with what I had already pulled out, and it's not quite enough to fill in the background the way that I want it to. So we're going to do this first and then put everything else over the top. I'm going to be using my Sure Bonder glue skillet today. If you're interested in purchasing one, I am an affiliate and the link is in the description box below. Now, an affiliate link just means that I will earn a small commission for referring you. It does not cost you any more for the product. And I did purchase the glue skillet and the mat from Sure Bonder. Now I've attached my bow here up at the top but off to one side, and I haven't done my tails or anything. That's kind of the last thing that I will do. And I was just kind of playing with my placement and how I want to lay things out. And I'm going to come out here, but just a short amount, about down to here, and then on this side I'm going to come down pretty much to the center and leave this area open on the wreath. I like that. And then later we're going to go in and add some longer tails. But I want to start with my base here. And the first thing I want to glue in is this one. It's just your basic greenery, nothing special. I'm just going to pull out a couple pieces here of it for the top part, and then the rest will go on the bottom. And I want things to come out and kind of follow the shape of the wreath. So I just kind of dip the end in there and lift up and then feed it right into the grapevine wreath. It's one of the lovely benefits that you can feed in all of your greenery. Okay, I like that as the base. And now I'm going to add in a few of the greenery pieces from the other one. And I'm going to shorten these a little bit. I don't need them quite that long. Now that I have this greenery down, I'm going to add some of my eucalyptus. Now my pick here also has eucalyptus on it, so I want to make sure that I'm going to put the pick up here So I don't need to place this very high because the eucalyptus is going to be up here as well from the pick. Shorten my stem here. And I'm going to fan that out a little bit. I like that. And now I'm going to add this. And because I want the eucalyptus at the other end, I'm going to feed it in this way. And I have two little stems of this. I'm going to add these as well. Now I add one nice big pine cone. Very nice. Now doesn't that look pretty? I'm very happy with that. I might add a few bits here and there, but I'm going to work on the other side now. And I'm going to start here underneath the bow and work my way down to about here. And I'm going to build it the same way I showed you on the other side. Start with my greenery and work my way up. I have all my greenery in on this side, and now I'm going to start to add some of my embellishments. And on this one you need to remove the hanger because this comes as an ornament. Just snip it off and then decide how you want to place it. Sure everything is sitting the way that you want it to. And I think I'm going to put this one right up here like this. I like that. I'm just going to take the area here where it's all tied together, dip that in my glue skillet, and then nestle that into its place. And I like it because, you know, it's on wire. You can change it so that the angle is exactly the way that you want it to be. Once I get my fruit glued in, then I'll add my little pomegranates, and then we'll come back and we'll add our final touch. Look at how beautiful it's coming out. I'm very happy. So I have everything except for my little acorns glued in, so now I'm going to add these. And then I'll come back and I am going to add a little bit, one set of longer tails, and then we'll trim our tails and we'll be done. Now you can place these wherever you like. Use your hot glue gun or your glue skillet. Just put a little bit of glue on there and then place your little corn. I got all my acorns glued on and I'm really happy with it. I think they were the perfect final addition. Now the only thing I want to do is add some more tails. So I cut a piece of the smaller ribbon, the 1.5 inch at 24 inches, folded it in half and added a pipe cleaner. Now I'm just going to lift up my bow here and I'm going to add the tails down in underneath, and I'm going to attach it the same way that I attached the bow. Just run the pipe cleaners either through the wreath or around the wreath, whichever works for you. Pull it to the back and tie it off. I absolutely love the way this wreath came out. A perfect autumn harvest wreath. A great way to welcome fall into your home. Absolutely gorgeous. To get started on our project, you're going to need one of these wood panels that you can pick up from Dollar Tree. Now they have two different sizes. This is the one that is square. Then they also have this one, which is a little bit more rectangle. You can see the size difference there. You can use either one. It all depends on how you want to decorate your piece, but I've chosen to go with this square one. You're also going to need some orange paint. This is apple barrel, pumpkin orange, and some brown paint, and this is nutmeg brown. I put out a little bit of both colors of the paints. The first thing is I want to get a good coat of the orange paint here on my base. You also want to make sure that you get all of the edges all the way around. I have one good coat on and my paint is still wet. I'm going to go in and pick up a little bit of that brown and mix it in with a little bit of the orange. I want it to darken up. Okay, I really like that. I'm taking a square object and making it look a little bit more round. And all I did was take a little bit of that brown and mix it in with the orange so it's a darker shade. And then I just give it curves. A little bit comes off at one time, which is fine. I just don't want it to look flat. I want it to look like it's got a little bit of dimension there, and I think that did it. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry before we move on. I pulled out one of these wood slices and I painted it the nutmeg brown. That's going to be my stem for my pumpkin. Then I also pulled out this package of DIY stickers that I picked up from Dollar Tree. It has a lot of small pumpkins on it. And I pulled out two that are unfinished. I'm going to paint these white. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of the nutmeg brown like I did here to give it a little bit more texture and to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. But I'm going to start by getting a base coat of white on these guys. And I'm just using Apple Barrel's matte white. Once you're happy with everything, go ahead and let it fully dry. Now I was looking at my little orange pumpkins and kind of when I hold them up to the base here, they really blend in because there's not much difference between the two. So I decided to go in and add some dimension to those pumpkins and make them a little bit darker with the Waverly Antique Wax. You just kind of start with the stem. And here at the bottom, they have little bumps. That's what I use as my guide to add my lines. And I'm going to use just kind of the edge of my paintbrush here. Just going to start at that dip and kind of do a curve as I come up. Okay, got a little off center there, but that's okay. And then I'm also going to go right around the bottom as a shadow because these pumpkins are sitting. And then I'm also going to come right around the outside edge. Then I just kind of work down here, make sure those little areas look round. And bring down my stem a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to do that to the 2 large plain pumpkins and to the 1 small plain pumpkin. They do come with the little stickies on the back. I always remove those. My pieces are dry, so I'm going to add my stem here. And the way that I painted it, it looks like the stem should go right here, which is a little off center. So that's where I'm going to put it, and I'm going to attach it with a combination of Aleene's original tacky glue and hot glue. I've found over the years that when you try to use hot glue over freshly painted surfaces, it doesn't tend to hold very well. So by adding the original tacky glue, you'll have a much better adhesion. Once the Aleene sets up, it'll be good to go and it's not going to move. Now I'm also going to be adding a few other things up here, but I'm going to wait on that. Now here I want to do a little design, and I found these self-adhesive stencils, and they have so many to choose from this year in the fall section, and I like this one. I'm going to do the one that says welcome to our patch. That's why I've also added the additional pumpkins. So when you open it up, it comes on a back of white paper, and these are already pre-cut for you to separate each of them. I just need to make sure that I have enough room that I can read my words even after I add my pumpkins across the bottom here. So once you have your placement, you can peel off the stencil and place it. The back is supposed to peel off. Just take your time, make sure you get it laying down nice and smooth. Okay, I have it down, it's nice and smooth, and I can read everything. Now I like to use these. These are pouncing brushes. I find that these do the best job on stencils. And we're going to do it in white. Just dab in, dab off any excess. And I like that these are self-adhesive, so they're going to hold for you. Just be careful when you get near the edge. You don't want to go past the edge. I apologize, my camera turned off because my memory in my computer was full, so I had to delete some things. But all I did was use the white paint and my little pouncer and pounced on and removed the stencil. Now you can rewash the stencil and then put it on the backing here and reuse it. So I'm happy with that. Now we're going to add our pumpkins. You just need to be careful because the white is still wet. And I just need to decide now where I want to place my pumpkins and how I want them to look across the bottom here. I think that looks really cute. I decided I am going to use one of the little glitter pumpkins that came in the package, but that's up to you. They do have another plain one, so if you want to paint it like the others, you can. And to attach these, I'm going to use a combination of the Aleene's original tacky glue and the hot glue. You just need to make sure that the bottom stays flat so that it can stand. Now my paint is dry, so I can move forward with my decorating. You're going to need one of the burlap leaves. They come in a package of 5. This is the one I'm going to be using. They do come on a wire. So you want to pull the wire off. And then you'll need like a pencil or a dowel rod. Start at one end and then just wrap around so you get like a little corkscrew. Okay, we're going to use that as a tendril, so you'll need 2 wires to make 2 of them. And then with the leaf that you pulled the wire off, we're going to trim this into smaller leaves to add. The first thing that we're going to attach are our little tendrils. And they are curved at the bottom, so I'm just going to take the curved end and wrap it around the base of my stem here. So I have both of them wrapped around the base there. So I'm going to add some hot glue to keep them secure. Okay, so I have my 2 tendrils on there. And now I'm going to add some of these pieces so they look like leaves. So I have 2 pieces glued there for leaves and the tendrils. I'm happy with that. The final thing I'm going to add is this really pretty bow. It's a very simple bow to make. 2 loops on either side of the leaf ribbon and 1 loop on either side of the check ribbon. And then I also added a tail of each and wrapped the center. And I'm going to glue that right at the base of my stem. Now you want to play with your bow and fluff it a little bit before you put it down, just to make sure that it's laying the way that you want, because once you glue it down, you don't want to play with it too much. And at this time you can also adjust your tendrils. If you want them a little longer, you can straighten them out, maybe curve them a little bit. Whatever looks right to you. And there you go, we're all done. Our cute little welcome to our patch shelf sitter. Really fun and easy to make. To get started on today's project, you're going to need one of the 14-inch wire wreath forms that you can pick up at Dollar Tree. And then I use a heavy-duty bolt cutter. If you have a really strong hands, you can use heavy-duty wire cutters. But we're going to be cutting this wreath form in half. Now these bolt cutters are by Cobalt. I believe I picked these up at Lowe's. They have several different sizes. This is kind of more the medium size. You don't need one quite this large. They do make some smaller and some even larger than this, but you can usually pick up a bolt cutter at any hardware store. Now the only thing you need to be concerned about when you are cutting your wreath form in half is that each piece needs to have one end that has the bar and one end that has loose wires. So as you can see, each piece has a bar on one end and then loose wires on the other. Now this is the sign that we're going to be using today. I think he's absolutely adorable and I love him. Now I've done this style before with a couple other wreaths and it turned out really nice. And I thought he was the perfect sign to do it. But if you can't find him, they did come out with two that are workable. This is the other one. This one also says Happy Fall, y'all. Oh, this one says Hello Fall. This one says Happy Fall, y'all. Really cute little bow tie. The only thing I would change if you're going to use this one instead of this one is I did choose an orange and white check to match his little bandana there, so I would just change it to a black and white check to match this little guy's bow tie. But for today we're going to be using this one. Turn it over to the back here. Now when you're laying your pieces, you want to turn them so that the arced part is facing forward. And you want one end, the end here with the bar, that needs to be at the top and at the bottom. You want the cut pieces to be in the center. And you need that to come in by about at least an inch so you have enough space there to attach it to the back of the board. And you don't really want to see that wire from the front, okay? So that's about perfect. Now the first thing I'm going to do is there are some here that are already touching the board. Those I'm going to hot glue right where they are. Just add a little bit of hot glue over the top. Now I have all the points that are touching the board hot glued down, and I added a little support with the other sign and a little notebook here so that it would set up correctly. Now there are 4 points here on the curve, 2 on each side, that I want to tie down as well, and I'm going to use a little bit of pipe cleaner here. So I want to feed it on either side of the wire there that's lifted. I'm going to hot glue this down. I'm also going to do one here on the other corner. Put a little hot glue down, add in your pipe cleaner. Put a little hot glue over the top and let that set up. You want to do this to both ends. Now before I tie these down, I want to make sure that glue is fully set up so I get it nice and secure. And then here on the two loose ends that were lifted up, I put a weight on so that they are flat against the board. And then I've put hot glue over them. A little dab first down, lay them in, add some weight, and then put some on top. Not only is this going to help it attach to the board, but it's also going to cover any sharp ends so that you don't have anything on the back that can scratch your door. Now before you move forward, you want to make sure that all of the glue is fully set up and secure. And I tightened down and trimmed my pipe cleaners, and then I pushed the ends down and hit them with just a little bit of hot glue. But as you can see, everything is down, it's nice and secure, and there is nothing on the back to scratch my door. This guy's all ready to go, as handsome as he is. Now this is the type of mesh that we're going to be using today. This is 10-inch by 10 yards poly mesh ribbon. It is weatherproof. I did pick this up from Hobby Lobby, and it regularly retails for $9.99, and I usually pick it up when it's 40 or 50% off. You will need 1.5 rolls to complete this wreath. You want to measure out your mesh to 15 inches and cut. I prefer to use a rotary cutter because I get a nice clean cut. If you don't have a rotary cutter, you can use a good sharp pair of scissors. You just want to make sure that you get a good clean cut so you don't have much fraying. Now with the method that we're going to be using today, when you use it with quality mesh, you get no fraying at all on your wreath. And today, it's the folded ruffle. Now I designed this method back in May of 2020. I originally designed it to be used with Dollar Tree mesh because it frays so much, but it works very well with 10-inch mesh as well. So you take your piece that's cut at 15 inches, you fold the ends over themselves by about an inch so you form a tube. You want to press that down. You start at one end while you hold it down, scrunch up to the center, come up to the other end and scrunch. Then you need a pipe cleaner cut in half. You want to wrap that around the bottom. You want those pipe cleaners to be up on top because this is where all your cut ends are. You want that to be the bottom of your bundle. And then I grab it and I kind of look and make sure that my shape is the right size. Grab it and pull it down so I can get a nice tight grip, pinch and twist. Then when you open it up, it is so pretty. I think they look like butterflies. Very, very pretty. I will show you again. And that is what your bundle looks like. Now when you put this into your wreath, this folds up like butterfly wings, so it comes together like that. So you get a very textured but smooth surface, which is absolutely beautiful. I'm working on getting my bundles attached, and I've started in the top section here. Now the top section and this bottom section are not quite as wide as the center section. So you need about 6 bundles on the top and the bottom, and probably about 7 on the one in between. That's why you're going to need 2 rolls, because one will only give you 4 bundles per section. And then to attach these, you're going to be attaching them to the 2 bars in the center. You just take your pipe cleaners and feed them from the front to the back. Wrap it around those 2 bars, pull nice and snug, and give a couple twists. And then to help keep my back looking nice and clean, slide over my bundle and I push those ends of my pipe cleaners forward. This keeps the back of the wreath looking clean, keeps the sharp ends away from the back, and then by the time you're done with the front, you're not even going to be able to see them. And then you just keep adding your bundles to the section until the section is full. Once you finish the top section, you move to the bottom and get that one nice and full as well. But see how pretty that looks, and I love the light and dark mixed together. I think that's absolutely beautiful for this wreath. And then here where the sign is, so that I can still see my bird, I've kind of tucked my bundle there, kind of spread it open, because I still want to be able to see my bird. Now you can be able to do that, and if it's not going to sit the way you want, hit it with a little dab of hot glue and make it sit there. Okay, so I'm going to get my base of my wreath here filled in, and then I'll be back and we can move forward. I have my base complete, and I think he looks absolutely adorable. Now the next thing that I do is I go through and I will clean up my mesh. If I have anything sticking out from the ends in the back, I just trim them off. Looks pretty good. And then here on the sides where it meets the board, I usually will push it back and kind of fold down that last little bundle. And then I take some hot glue and I just kind of run it right along the edge there. And I let my mesh glue to that because I don't want it to come too far onto the board and cover up my words or part of his face. And see, it holds it back nicely, and you can't tell when you look at it that it's glued. We're going to work on our ribbon bundles now. I have these two ribbons that I'm going to use on our wreath today. I absolutely love them. I think they are perfectly matched to go with the sign. These are both made by Really Good Ribbon. I will insert their item numbers here. Now I did purchase these from Amazon.com. You can find them in my Amazon shop, and the link is in the description box below. You're also going to need some raffia or some hula skirt. That will work as well. You want to cut 10 pieces of each ribbon at 11 inches. And you want to cut several pieces of the raffia at 11 inches. You'll use about 3 to 5 pieces of raffia per bundle. I have my ribbon and my raffia cut, and this is what our bundles are going to be looking like. I think that is so pretty. And I'm going to be dovetailing my ends, and I usually cut 2 ribbon at a time. I line them up. Fold them in half, make sure they're nice and even. And I usually don't like to go too deep, maybe a 1/2 inch. And then cut from the fold to the wire edge. And that gives you a nice little dovetail. I'm going to do that to both ends here. I'm going to be using my bow dabber here to help me make my ribbon bundles. I'm going to start with a check as my background ribbon. Just kind of scrunch in the center. Place that in. Do the same with my cute little scarecrow ribbon here. And then I've cut my raffia into strips at 11 inches, so I'm just going to grab a couple pieces here, kind of find the center and put that in. Now when you get your raffia, at least when you get it from Dollar Tree, it comes wrapped up like this. So I just started at one end and measured it, cut it, measured it, and cut it, so that way you're cutting quite a bit at one time instead of trying to do one strand. Then you'll need a pipe cleaner cut in half. Pinch it in the center and lift out. Wrap from the front to the back. And then I always like to pull down so I can get a nice tight grip. Pinch and twist. And then I like to do a little bit of styling before I put it into my wreath, I want to make sure that everything's going to lay that I want. So I kind of crisscross the ribbons and leave the raffia kind of in the center there. And then I just lift up and kind of curve out the ends. It's much easier to adjust your bundles before you put it in your wreath. So this way you'll know if it's going to lay the way that you want it to. Very cute. You need to make 10 bundles just like this. I'm in the process of adding the ribbon bundles, and I wanted to show you how I'm adding them. Now if you turn it over here on the back, you can see the 2 crossbars. Where the 2 crossbars are, I'm putting a ribbon bundle on the inner 2 bars. And then I'll be putting a ribbon bundle on the outer 2 bars in between those. I did decide to go back here on the top part at the very top and add an additional bundle. So this side has 6. After I get my 5 in on this side, I'll decide whether or not I want to add another one here at the top. But I want to wait till I get it in and see how it looks. I've also made just 2 bundles with raffia, and on the top here I stuck one in here at the very bottom and one at the very top. I'm going to do the same on the bottom half. So you just use your pipe cleaners, feed it through the mesh until you can get to the wire frame in the back, and then just attach it to the wire frame. Once you have it tied down, make sure to tuck your pipe cleaners. I have all my bundles in, and I think it looks so adorable. Now there's one thing left I want to add, and they are a couple of corn here. I picked them up at Dollar Tree. They come 2 to a pack. They have several different colors. The ribbon actually has some little corn on it as well, and I'm just going to place one on either side, kind of like that. And to get these attached, you can either wire them on. I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and Aleene's Original Tacky Glue. Now I really like Aleene's Original Tacky Glue. It weatherizes your wreath. Anytime you're going to put a wreath outside, you want to make sure to use Aleene's Original Tacky Glue. It does take 24 to 48 hours to fully cure, but once it does, it is weather resistant. Nothing's going to fall off due to heat, cold, rain, wind. I love this stuff. So I am just going to attach this to the mesh. Just going to lift everything out of the way, find my position. Just make sure you get good contact with the Deco mesh. Very, very cute. Look at the corn. Doesn't that look cute? I absolutely love it. And there you go. We are all done. I really do love my Hello Fall Scarecrow Wreath. I think he is absolutely adorable. Now I do have half a roll of mesh left over, so it did take 1.5 rolls of the 10" by 10 yards. And I also have still quite a bit of both of the ribbons left over, enough to do at least 1, maybe even 2 more wreaths. And there you go, we are all done. I hope you enjoyed today's collection of videos for fall. I hope this helped you get inspired and ready to start crafting for fall. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, please leave me a leaf emoji in the comment section below and let me know which craft or wreath was your favorite. If you're looking for more inspiration for crafts for fall, go ahead and click into my playlist. Have a great day, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.